Raiders football is finally back in the entertainment capital. Ashton Jeanty has finally arrived and shows why he was the top running back selected in the draft. And should we be worried about the Raiders defense? Yo, what is up, Raider Nation? It's your boy Samoa Raider back with another episode of Raiders Recap. Now today we're going to be recapping the Raiders and the Niners game that went down yesterday night. And of course, we already know that the Raiders came away with the loss, but hey, it's just preseason, right? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If we won, of course, I would have been bragging. But since we lost, it's preseason. It really doesn't matter. But before I get into the Raiders recap, if this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love Raiders content just like this, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. That being said, it felt real good to finally be back at Allegiant Stadium for some Raider games. Even though we came away with the loss, just being around the Raider Nation at the tailgate, heck, even that pre-game, shout out to C Connect and shout out to the Raider fans that I met at the game. It just felt good to be around, our people. Win, lose, or tie, Raider Nation till I die. And we know that the Raider Nation is always going to be faithful and loyal, no pun intended. So I guess just that alone was more than enough for me to just enjoy this day. Now, even though this was considered a home game, it really seemed like it was an away game because there was so much more red than there was black. And I'm just sitting here like, yo, Raider Nation, we got to do a better job in showing up for this team. But you know what? That being said, I feel like this game was overall a competitive one, and it went back and forth between the first, second, third team, and it came down to the very last play. But before we get into all of that, we got to see our minority owner, Tom Brady, show up, and I don't know, but that swagger that he has with the silver and black just fits him perfectly and really makes me wish that he could have been a Raider at least one time in his career. But the Raiders lost this game. But like I said earlier, it's just preseason. I want to get into the good and the bad in this game. Of course, we're going to start off with the bad. I know one of my biggest storylines going into this game was seeing how this defense would respond, especially after how lackluster they looked last week. Now, I will say that the defensive line was pretty solid for the most part. And yes, we gave up some big runs here and there, but I felt like we kind of neutralized the run game for the most part, especially when it came down to the first team defensive line. Max Crosby early on made his presence felt with back-to-back tackles for loss, and that was huge for this team just to get the momentum going early on. We also got to see Jeremy Chin come away with a huge interception on Mac Jones. It's great to see that the Raiders defense, at least in the secondary, can come away with some turnovers in back-to-back weeks. Last week with Isaiah Pullman and this week with Jeremy Chin. And though I am praising one of our safeties, I feel like our secondary overall really struggled in this game, giving away some big plays. I believe there was a play where it was like 3rd and long, and Brock Purdy was able to find a receiver for a first down, a huge first down, and it's just like, damn, man. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like we just can't get it together. I spoke about this earlier, especially after seeing the joint practice that we had with the 49ers and seeing the scrimmage that they had. Brock Purdy was basically lighting us up. Now, I will say that we kept Brock Purdy in that first team offense outside of the end zone, but giving away plays like that is definitely a momentum shifter. Another big storyline that I had coming into this game was seeing how the quarterback 2 battle would be. Honestly, it's really disappointing to see that our backups really didn't keep that same energy. I will talk about the first team unit in just a little bit because I feel like they came out of the gate swinging, giving this Raiders team at least a little bit of life. But once that second and third team unit went out there, we really didn't have anything going. That being said, though, Aiden O'Connell, it's kind of hard to really stick up for this guy, even though I'm not really high on him, but this is another week that he really struggled in. He went 15 for 23, 138 yards, and an interception. And not only that, just watching him play out there with the eye test, seeing how long he stays in the pocket, as well as just holding the ball way too long, really frustrates me. And it reminds me of, Derek Carr's latter years with the silver and black. And at this point, I really wouldn't be surprised if Aiden O'Connell wasn't on the final roster when week 1 comes around. Now, as far as Cam Miller, a fan favorite, especially after last week, he showed out in the little time that he had. And even going into this game, he didn't have that much time either. He was 2 for 6 for 25 yards and a costly interception late in the game, which basically set up the San Francisco 49ers game-winning field goal. And honestly, I felt like this game could have came down to another tie, back-to-back years. But I understand that the offense really wanted to at least try to drive down the field and give this team a chance to win the game. But of course, that backfired on us, and now we got to hear all these San Francisco 49er fans just bragging about this win, in which I will say, congratulations to their Super Bowl win. After watching this game, after seeing the backup quarterbacks go out there and show what they can do, it's really hard to at least have any interest in any one of them. I know that it felt like last week AOC basically gave the QB2 spot to Cam Miller, and Cam Miller just was like, you know what, here, you can have it back. Okay, I'm not gonna take credit for that joke. I seen Carl post it on Twitter and I thought it was kind of funny, so I just used it. Now, I'm not going to give up on Cam Miller just yet because I know this wasn't really a good showing as well as AOC, but we got one more game and the Raiders have got to figure out who the quarterback 2 is going to be moving forward. That being said, I want to look at some of the good in this game because we did have some good things. Now, one of the most important things that I was looking forward to going into this game was seeing how well that first team unit would look, especially offensively, and they definitely did not disappoint. I want to talk about Geno Smith first and foremost. It really feels like we actually have a quarterback that can run an offense, that can throw a tight spiral, that can be accurate with the ball. I feel more confident in Geno Smith leading this offense than any of the quarterbacks that we had for the last couple of years. And seeing him on those first 2 drives just drive down the field and help this team score points, especially after how bad they looked last week, really has me excited for the season once it comes around. Geno Smith was 6 for 8 for 55 yards. Like I said, barely played, but definitely played a big part in scoring 10 points while he was on the field. Now, I will say that he did miss Dante Thornton down the field on a big play, which I felt like would have been huge. And I feel like we're just waiting on that big Dante Thornton play. And I feel like it's going to come one way or another. Though Geno Smith didn't score a touchdown, he helped lead the team down the field, like I said earlier, to score some points. And I will say shout out to Ashton Jeanty for showing up in this game. I know last week he struggled, but coming into this game, he really did his thing, got into the end zone one time. I thought he fumbled it, but he crossed the plane, and it just helped the Raiders get even more momentum moving forward. And it's good to see that he was able to respond after last week's showing. And I'm sure that there's not a lot of people out there talking about him being a bust. And of course, that's one of the main reasons why I don't want to overreact to the preseason, whether good or bad. Another player that really showed out, even with just one reception, was Brock Bowers. He had a crazy catch for 28 yards down the field, and he went up there, mossed the defender, and just showed why he is one of the, if not the best tight end in the NFL today. Also got to give a shout out to Jack Best. He caught a couple of balls, went 2 for 21, and on the defensive side of the ball, I want to give a shout out to Andre Carter. Now, Andre Carter is one of those guys that, of course, is not a household name, but just seeing him out there making plays and showing his presence, having 3 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a sack. Those are the main reasons why we have these games, is to see those diamond in the rough players and show what they can do with the limited amount of reps that they do have. Now, I don't know if Andre Carter is going to come and make the 53-man roster, but he definitely showed out today. Now, that being said, though, I know the Raiders lost, and it does suck, especially when it came down to the last play of the game. Jake Moody, out of all times, all of a sudden wants to make a field goal, which gave the Niners the lead and gave the Niner fans some bragging rights, at least for another year. I will say, though, even with the loss, I'm not really worried about it, because I know how well our first team unit looked out there, and it just shows how bad our second and third unit is out there. I don't know how well the depth is, but the fact that AOC and Cam Miller wasn't able to at least keep this game away from the Niners, or at least come away with the tie, really sucks, but I'm not really worried about this team moving forward. We do got one more dress rehearsal for this team, so we'll see if the starters get to play one more game, or we're going to see the rest of the guys go out there and show what they can do. Now, as far as Aiden O'Connell and Cam Miller, that's going to be a game that I have got to see them show out in a bigger way. With that said, though, Raider Nation, let me know how you guys feel about this game. Are you guys worried about it? What are some good and some bad things that you took away from this game? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, I will say the player of the game has got to go to none other than our first round pick in the 2025 NFL draft, running back Ashton Jeanty. Like I said earlier, after the week that he had last week and everybody announcing him as a bust because he only had 3 carries for -1 yards, he definitely bounced back in a big way, and he was one of those players I was definitely looking forward to watching in this game, and he definitely reminded a lot of people why he was a top pick, coming away with 7 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown, with his longest run being 13 yards. Now, if there was any question on his toughness or the fact that he could just run a motherfucker over, then think again. Now, Ashton Jeanty got to speak to the media after the game, and he basically said that, "I'm here."
In the back of my mind, is to continue to gain that trust that I can go get those yards. And, it takes time, as a rookie, to kind of, gain that confidence. And, I'm here, I've arrived, and, it's time to keep going and make plays for this team.
Now, Max Crosby also showed some love and gave his reaction to Ashton Jeanty's highlight and even his first touchdown in the NFL.
Yeah, it was crazy. Ashton is a top 10 pick for a reason. So getting to see him get a little more breathing room in the backfield was awesome. And he definitely runs the ball with an emphasis for sure. And it was a hell of a run. And you just see him every day show up and get better. And so, yeah, I love what that kid's doing. He does it all the time. The way he runs the ball is, he's so compact and strong and twitchy in the hole. It's like, that's why he had so much success in Boise. So, we're really excited about him, and we're looking forward to him being a big part of what we're doing.
But all that being said, just like last week, I do not want to overreact to the preseason games. I know last week we could overreact and say that Ashton Jeanty might not be a good player, and then now watching this week's matchup, I know fans might go out there and say, oh, he's going to be the #1 back and he's going to break all these records. I would just still say, chill. It's the preseason. Until week 1 comes around and he goes out there and does it on a regular basis, then we can definitely brag about that. But I will say, from what we've seen in this game, it's definitely something to be excited about. Now for the my neck and my back play of the game, I've got to give it to none other than the big O's Ashton Jeanty with the huge chuck stick making Lenore touch earth.
At the line of scrimmage.
Run again.
Oh my God!
That being said, Raider Nation, let me know how you guys feel about the team. Let me know how you guys feel about this game down in the comments below. Until the next video, this is your boy Simone Raider and your boys, yeah.